Hey folks, Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and let's talk about the one new Bard subclass that was published in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, the College of Creation. We originally received this in earlier 2020 in the subclasses Part 2 Unearthed Arcana, and from what I recall reading through it, I think most of it remains the same, but when you get certain abilities was shifted. So we'll talk about that in just a sec. But beforehand, hey, if you haven't taken a chance to subscribe to the channel and you appreciate what I do here, you like me, or you just want to stay up to date on my videos so you can tell me how wrong I am, then consider subscribing to the channel. And you know what? Turn on those notification bells so you can stay up to date when my newest video comes out, whether you want to praise me or condemn me. That way you know the first opportunity you'll have to do that. That being said, I do also have a Tasha's Cauldron of Everything giveaway going on right now. Good news, sounds like the European folks are going to get their Tasha's Cauldron possibly next week, not into December, so good for you. But if you'd like to possibly win one of the alternative covers or a couple other books for free, check the link in the description to do so. Also, for all of you who've been worried about me and my personal well-being, I'm fine, folks, really. I took this entire week off of my day job just to focus on work around the house and videos. That's why there's all this construction going on over here. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about College of Creation. So we have the Unearthed Arcana on the right, Tasha's Cauldron on the left. So at level 3, we originally got what was called Note of Potential. And it expands on what your bardic inspiration can do, or it does other things. So whenever you give someone inspiration, you create a note of potential that has now been changed to mote of potential, but it orbits within 5 feet of the creature. It's a tiny object, intangible, invulnerable, and it lasts until you expend the bardic inspiration die. So you could do the Note of Destruction immediately after a creature rolls the bardic inspiration die to add it to an attack roll. They can expend the note to create a burst of sound. And a creature within every creature, other than the one expending it, within 5 feet of it must make a con save or take thunder damage equal to the roll on the bardic inspiration die. There was the Note of Protection. Immediately after they roll the bardic inspiration die to add it to a saving throw, they can expend it to gain temporary hit points equal to the number rolled plus the bard's charisma modifier. And then Note of Ingenuity, when they roll the bardic inspiration die to add it to an ability check, they can expend the note to roll the inspiration die again and choose which roll. I think that remains largely the same. Again, it is now called a Mote of Potential as opposed to a Note of Potential. And then they give you the opportunity to make it look like a star, a flower, some symbol. It doesn't have to be a musical note. All right, so they didn't give it any clever names, though, which is kind of a bummer. They had this Note of Destruction, Note of Protection, Note of Ingenuity. They just cut that all out and says it does one of the following: ability check, attack roll, saving throw. I kind of liked the little bit of flavor, but all right, so ability check. You roll the bardic inspiration die to add it to an ability check. You can roll it again and choose, and the mote pops and emits colorful, harmless sparks for a moment. So they added some flavor to what happens when you use it, but not to the name. But that ability check one is the same. Immediately after you roll it to add it to an attack roll. The target that you're actually attacking in addition to each creature. So originally it just said each other creature within 5 feet would take the damage. Now it's the target and everybody else, so it adds a little bit to the damage. Constitution saving throw, thunder damage equal to the bardic inspiration die. Okay, so that's the same. And then the saving throw one, if you add it to a saving throw, you get temporary hit points equal to the number rolled plus your charisma modifier. Temporary hit points. So that remains the same. It vanishes in the sound of soft music. The attack roll was a thunderous shatter. Okay. Then, see, we moved on to the next one was animated performance, but we have a new thing here, which I think came later. Performance of Creation was a level 14 ability in the Unearthed Arcana. It is now a 3rd level feature, and I'll read it here. I guess I should skip ahead. The Performance of Creation that was the 14th level feature of the Unearthed Arcana version was, as an action, you can create one non-magical item of your choice in an unoccupied space within 10 feet. The item must appear on a surface or in a liquid that can support it. The value of the item can't be more than 20 times your bard level and must be large or smaller. Tiny glimmering intangible notes float around it, and a creature can faintly hear music when touching it. For example, you can create armor, weapons, adventuring gear, mounts, vehicles, etc. It disappears at the end of your next turn unless you use your action to maintain it. Each time you use your action in this way, the item's duration is extended to the end of your next turn to a maximum of a minute. If you maintain it for a full minute, it continues to exist for a number of hours equal to your bard level. Once you create an item in this fashion, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest unless you expend a 5th level slot or higher. You can only have one use of this feature in effect at a time. If you use this action to create another one, the other one vanishes. So now at level 3, let's see how much of that is different. Song of Creation in a space within 10 feet of you. The GP value of the item can't be more than 20 times your bard level. So that's the same. So now rather than waiting till 14th level to get this, we have that functionality of it at level 3. But the item must be medium or smaller. Originally at 14th level, it was large or smaller. It still has a bit about the glimmering music. And now it disappears after a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus. It does not have this, it lasts per round, and then you need to continue to spend time, and then it turns into hours. It's just proficiency bonus time, or proficiency bonus hours, period. And it gives you examples of what you could do. Once you create an item in this fashion, you can't do it so until you finish a long rest, unless you spend a 2nd level slot or higher. This is at 3rd level as opposed to a 5th level slot at level 14. You can only have a 1 item in effect at a time. If you create another one, that one vanishes. And it says the size of the item you can create increases to large at 6th level, and 14th it goes up to huge size. So it actually is a boon to it overall, I think, rather than it being bard level. So bard level number of hours of creation is pretty nice if you were making something like a boat or a mount. That means you could go with it for longer, but you'd have to wait all the way to level 14 to get it, and at that point, people have teleportation magics and things. So having access to this at level 3 is kind of nice, because that's pretty useful. It could be, you could do a lot of interesting things with it, and it starts at a minimum, it lasts for 2 hours, goes up to a maximum of 6, but the size increases naturally, it's not a separate feature. Okay, and then at 6 originally, in the Unearthed Arcana, we got Animating Performance. As an action, you can target a larger, smaller, non-magical object within 30 feet of you. The item uses the dancing item stat block, which we have here, and is under your control for 1 hour or until it's reduced to 0 hit points. It's probably, I can tell you right now, the text is probably going to change to match what the new sort of pet mechanic text is. But when you use your Bardic Inspiration feature, you can command which action your animated item takes as part of the same bonus action, which is key. So I can use my bonus action to give my ally Bardic Inspiration and command my dancing item as part of the same bonus action. So I'm getting 2 for 1 on that. Once you animate an item with this feature, you can't do so again until you expend a 3rd level spell slot. Again, you only have 1 animated item up at a time. Okay, so what do we get now? And we'll look at the stat block in a sec. Okay, so as an action, animate a large object within 30 feet. The animated object uses the stat block, which uses your proficiency bonus. That's sort of the new thing. It's friendly to you. It lasts for an hour until it is reduced to 0 hit points or you die. Okay, so it's the same duration. It's going to use, again, the new pet mechanics. It will take its turn immediately after yours. It will take the dodge action on its turn unless you use a bonus action to command it to take another action. It can be something from its stat block or another action of your choice. We still have, when you use the Bardic Inspiration feature, you can command it, and it is still once a long rest unless you expend a 3rd level slot to do it again. So let's compare the stat blocks. 16 armor class. Its hit points used to be the item's constitution modifier plus your charisma modifier plus 5 times your level in this class. It's now just 10 plus 5 times your bard level. It used to only have a 40-foot movement and now has a 30-foot movement and a 30-foot fly speed with hovering. So I think that that's a benefit there. Looks like the stat block is the same, 18, 14, 16, 4, 10, 6. It was originally only immune to poison damage. It's now immune to poison and psychic. Same condition immunities of charmed, exhausted, poisoned, frightened. Still has dark vision, still understands your languages. And then it had these other abilities here. Endless Waltz. Immediately after this item makes a slam attack, I can take the dodge action. It looks like that was removed. And then it does still have Immutable Form, which is the item is immune to any spell that would change or alter. This is sort of like what golems have. So now it has Irresistible Dance as opposed to Endless Waltz. Irrepressible Dance. My mistake. When any creature starts its turn within 10 feet of the item can increase or decrease, your choice, the walking speed of that creature by 10 feet until the end of the turn, provided the item isn't incapacitated. So it used to be it could attack and then dodge as a bonus action, which is interesting because I guess the item has its own bonus actions too, now that I'm thinking about it. So maybe that was the confusion, so they removed it to just give it this cool lowering it or increasing movement speed, which is pretty good because that works offensively and defensively. And then it's force empowered slam. It's still your spell attack modifier to hit, and it is a D10. It used to be a D10 plus your charisma modifier in force damage. It is now a D10 plus proficiency bonus in force damage. And then we had at 14 performance of creation, which was as an action you create one non-magical. Oh, we already did that. Duh, Ted. We already talked about performance of creation. I'm dumb. And now it is changed to creative crescendo. When you use your performance of creation feature, the one we talked about back at level 3, the number of items you can create equals your charisma modifier. So now, whereas we could only ever create one in the original Unearthed Arcana, that has now increased to charisma modifier items. If you create an item that would exceed that number, you choose which previous item disappears. Only one of these items can be the maximum size you can create. The rest must be small or tiny. You are no longer limited by gold piece value when creating items with performance of creation. So that's pretty crazy. So I would say, overall, I think the College of Creation Bard just got nothing but buffs. I don't see any real detriment in any way. Maybe a little bit of loss on the hit points, but it gets a damage resistance for the dancing item. I think the fact that you get performance of creation, sort of a cool thematic thing that you can do. You get to start with it as soon as you choose the class, rather than having to wait all the way till level 14 to get it. And now you can create multiple objects. And it says, you could make up to a huge size item at level 14 that is not limited by gold piece value. If we look at the equipment section in the player's handbook, we might be able to make a boat, like a ship, out of that, I think. I'm trying to see if that's where it's contained here, because they said originally it had said like mounts and vehicles, but I'm looking here and I'm wondering if I scroll down all the way down to the bottom. So we're not limited in gold piece values. You might be able to just be like, I'm gonna make a warship. It exists for 6 hours. That'd be crazy. It has to still be within, I was thinking if you could do anything crazy or you like drop it on someone, but it has to be within 10 feet of you. But yeah, that could possibly be a thing that you create, which is cool. Or again, I still really like the idea of you creating like a horse that you can ride, like it's a horse created from your magic that you can just ride on. That's pretty cool. Or like later on, maybe like a horse and chariot, if the chariot counts as a small size item. I don't know if it does, but either way, I really like the College of Creation Bard. I think it's different. I don't know if it's something that I would strive to play. I do like, I've said it for a long time. My hair is crazy, by the way. I've said it for a long time that I enjoy when Wizards of the Coast takes the time to say, hey, we have a class that has a unique feature, Bardic Inspiration, Rage, Wild Shape, Channel Divinity, whatever. And we decide, hey, what would be cool is if there's a new way they could use that ability in a subclass. And I think that that's where things truly shine. Like, for example, the two new wild shape uses for the two druids in this book, the Stars Druid and the Wildfire Druid. You don't have to turn into an animal. You can use it to do this other thing. And I think that that's a really well-utilized mechanic. And like, this is a bard that has it can give out Bardic Inspiration, but it can do other things with its inspiration. And the fact that it can still give out inspiration and it doesn't have to choose, do I command my item to attack or do I give my ally Bardic Inspiration? I can do both. So I think that that's really cool. Like I said, I don't know if it's for me. I'm not sure if it's a class that I'd want to play. I can definitely see a lot of people having fun with it. And I want you to leave in the comments your best or craziest idea of nonsense and shenanigans you could get up to with the performance of creation. And I will see you all for the Peace Domain Cleric in the next video.